Hi, everyone. My name is Ron Guth, and welcome to the very first live stream where I invite you to pick my brain. I've been involved in numismatics for, I guess, about 50 years. I started in 1964 as a young kid, and along the way, I've done pretty much everything there is to do in coins. I've written numerous books. I have owned or been a partner in an auction house back in the 1980s. I was the PCGS president from 2004 to 2008, and then PCGS CoinFax from 2008 to 2018. Um, I specialize in German coins. I've worked as a cataloger for most of the major auction houses, and I have been an auctioneer for most of the auction houses as well. So I'm pretty well connected in the industry, and I just want to give you an opportunity to ask me questions. A lot of people are intimidated to go up to people at coin shows. They're either busy, they may not have time for you, but this is your time. I want you to ask whatever question you think, whether you think it's simple or complicated. I'll do my very best to answer it. I have to apologize to everybody. First of all, this is the first time I've done this live streaming for coins, and the original link that I had set up, I was fiddling around with it about 40 minutes ago, and I pushed a button that said go live. And I didn't realize that once you go live, you can't pause it. It goes on. So I said, I can't sit here with nothing for 40 minutes. So I ended up killing that. I had to because there was no way to pause it. So I created a new link, and unfortunately, whoever was waiting for the old link got wiped out. I noticed that we have one person on here right now, which is great. I really appreciate you being here. And if you have any questions, let me know. So anyway, we'll try to fix this in the future. My plan is to have a live stream every Wednesday night for an hour, and it will start at 6 o'clock on California time. And again, you can send me questions in the comments. You can email me questions to ron at germancoins.com. However, we connect, I want to be able to connect and be a resource for you, because I know that when I started collecting, I knew nothing. I just started from scratch. And along the way, I learned a lot of lessons. Some of them were expensive. There is no college or school for numismatics. It's pretty much the school of hard knocks. So I want to share some of those tips with you, try to hopefully save you from having to go through the same mistakes that I've made. And that's pretty much the purpose here. So if you have a question, please leave it in the chat thing, and I will get to answer it as soon as I can. In the meantime, I picked up a few questions or drew up a few questions for you, just in case there wasn't anybody here, which it looks like it's going to be difficult tonight. But a lot of people ask me, what is the best way to get started in numismatics? Well, I think the best way is to just, first of all, learn as much as you possibly can. There's an old dealer, Aaron Feldman, once said, buy the book before the coin. And that's really good advice, because before you buy your first coin, you should figure out what it is you're buying. Now, a lot of people get started in coin collecting because of someone else who has either influenced them or given them a gift of a coin. Like, for instance, there's a lot of people who give proof sets to their kids and grandkids every year as a gift. And it's a wonderful gift. And not everybody gets the collecting bug, but if you ask most collectors, they will tell you that the way that they got started was because someone influenced them and gave them a gift and got them excited about coins. For me, it started in about 1964. I was in the fifth grade, and I had a pair of friends. They were twins, Kim and Carl Biltz. I lived in South St. Pete, Florida, and we would go fishing quite frequently. We would go out and just use simple bamboo rods and just go fishing. And I just remember some wonderful times doing that. We spent a lot of time together and caught lots of fish. Well, one day they came over to my house and they had a tackle box. And I thought, well, we're going to go fishing. So they opened up the tackle box, and inside of each of the compartments, instead of lures and hooks and sinkers and anything related to fishing, there were coins in each of the compartments. One compartment might have Lincoln pennies, one might have Mercury dimes, one might have Buffalo nickels, one might have Indian head cents. It was just, it was like opening up a treasure chest, and I was immediately hooked. I said, "Where did you get these coins? How did you accumulate this little collection you have here?" And so they told me that what they would do is they would take a couple dollars to the bank on Saturdays or after school, and they would sit there and they would go through rolls of pennies and nickels and dimes, whatever they could afford, and they would pull out all of the very interesting coins that they wanted to keep. Like silver coins back then were worth a little bit more than their face value. Buffalo nickels were scarce, becoming scarce. War nickels were still in circulation. And so I said, "Hey, I'm going to do the same thing." And so I started going like them to the banks, just a couple dollars. You could buy a roll of pennies for 50 cents and you can pull out, all kinds of neat stuff, wheat pennies, Lincoln head, Indian head cents. And so that's how I started in my collection. And it was because of these two guys who showed me this tackle box full of coins that I got started. And actually, I still know both of those guys. They're still alive, kicking, and they're still active in the industry. And I actually met one of the Biltz brothers at a coin show probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was really just, it brought back so many great memories. So it was really nice to see them. I see I got a couple questions here. Chris H, thank you for joining us. Chris H, a while back, won a contest where I asked people to guess the price of the Eliasberg 1898 quarter dollar to see what it would bring at auction. And whoever got closest got a free red book. So here is Chris, and he was the winner of that red book contest. Chris H says, "I'm trying to get a gig on cataloging for auction houses. Any tips there? I've been in the coin world since '79, and I have attended many A&A summer seminars. My numismatic library, around 4,000 volumes." That's pretty impressive, Chris. My suggestion to you would be to contact the principals of the auction houses. Heritage Auctions is always looking for catalogers. I actually help them out from time to time, usually on provenance research, and just kind of let them know. Many times they might ask you to do like a sample catalog description, and you go by there. Just follow your passion and try to get a job doing it. It's a great side gig. There are guys, friends of mine, who are professional catalogers for the auction houses. So I say just shoot the principals. Try Goldberg Auctions, try Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers. Those are the major auction houses that I'm aware of, and see if you can get a job there. I mean, my belief is that the answer to every question is always no until you ask the question. So if you don't approach them, they'll never hire you. So you've got to make the move and ask them if they would be interested in seeing samples of your work and possibly hiring you. Now, if you have a library like I do behind me here, these are all major reference books, and I use them all the time for my writing and my research. And like I said earlier on, it's really important to learn as much as you possibly can. And these are all written by guys who are just like you and me, who have just taken the time to study coins and learn about them, and most importantly, to write about them. Some of these are highly specialized books. They delve into, say, like die varieties, which are individual die varieties. When a coin is struck, it has an obverse die and a reverse die, and when they come together, they strike a coin. Well, people collect this die, and any other die that was used to create a coin. So those are highly specialized things, but you may end up being a variety collector yourself. People collect large cents by Sheldon numbers, half cents by Overton numbers, and there's pretty much a standard reference book for just about every series. So if you want to be like Chris, if you want to be a cataloger, you really have to have a good general knowledge about coins, and in depth. The more in depth it is, the better uh, for you. Now, Chris says that he's attended the ANA summer seminars. What those are is the American Numismatic Association. That's the major collector organization here in America, and if you're a new collector, you should join the American Numismatic Association. Tell them that Ron, uh, uh, you know, was your sponsor, and they're the main organization. Well, every summer they put on a group of courses and seminars where people can come in from all over the country, and they meet with uh, professional dealers, experts, who, on their very own time, they're volunteers. They put on courses, and the courses might be on coin grading, coin research, a particular area like Civil War numismatics, and it's a wonderful way to really learn about the important aspects of numismatics from people who are at the top of the food chain. I've always said that if you want to get rich, take advice from billionaires. And in coins, if you want to really learn about coins, go try out the summer seminars. There are scholarships available for young people. They're not that expensive. It's a week long thing, and it's really a wonderful way to learn a lot about numismatics. And that's all part of getting someone ready for cataloging for somebody else, like Chris is aspiring to do. And so get the books. I mean, these books are not cheap, but a lot of the information has also been digitized. You can go to the Newman Numismatic Portal. Just do a Google search on that. And a lot of the numismatic works have been digitized, and they're available for free. So you can, for instance, many years ago, we relied heavily upon auction catalogs for information because that's where all the really great coins show up. And they have great catalog descriptions where they've been described in detail, and they might list a provenance on, how many examples are known of a particular coin, and is this one the finest known, second finest known, third finest known, that sort of thing. So we relied heavily on these auction catalogs. Well, nowadays, because they're digitized on Numismatic Portal, I pretty much have gotten rid of this big, bulky library, and it doesn't impact anything except that now my wife is a little bit happier because I don't have so many books in the house. She told me that if coins were the size of cereal boxes, I would be considered a hoarder, and I would be on the Hoarders TV show. So anyway, I got another comment here from Chris again. He says, "Can't say enough great things about the ANA seminars that I just talked about. I started with a YN scholarship. That's a Young Numismatist Scholarship. I've been to at least 7 I can remember now. Everyone interested in coins should go once." So that's great advice, Chris. I'm glad you're on here contributing. So that's my advice to anybody who is aspiring to be a cataloger, and actually that's advice for anybody who is aspiring to be a good collector. There's a difference between people who have a cigar box full of coins that they picked up on a tour of Europe, or they just chucked in there coins they picked up in circulation. That's what we call accumulators. And then there are the people who are serious collectors, and they're the ones that take the time to catalog their collection, store it systematically. They might put them in albums, and they try to go for completion. They try to fill holes when they can. And that's a serious collector, and that is what will take you to the next level of collecting. When I told you about my early days of collecting, I really was an accumulator, just like the Biltz brothers were. We had boxes of stuff. We had a little tray of Indian head pennies, we had a tray of Mercury dimes, but that really wasn't a collection. It becomes a collection when you start, like I said, putting it in albums. Well, when you put it in albums, you find out that you can't, even back then, you couldn't get everything from circulation. You would hit a wall where eventually you would have to go out and pay to get the coin you needed to finish out your collection. That's pretty much when you become a serious collector. When you start paying real money for rare coins, that's when you're a serious collector. A friend of mine, 10 or 11 years old too, I actually met him in a coin shop, and that included the 1909 SVDB, which is a recognized rarity, the 1914D, the 1931S. So it's very possible. It was very possible back then to do that. I was never able to do it, so I had to go out and pay premiums to buy these coins. And there's a tremendous satisfaction when you are able to finally complete your set. You've worked on it for maybe years, and when you can finally complete it, it's great. Here is Neil Robertson. He's a good friend of mine. He and I are fellow collectors of German coins, and Neil has put together a great collection. One of them that I know of is the German 5 marks from 1951 to 1974. He has a set registry on PCGS where I believe he's got the top set. He beat me out a little while ago, so congratulations to him. That there is anyone. Um, it says my connection is unstable. It says my connection is unstable. Do you think the spreading of misinformation is in the hobby? I don't think anybody deliberately spreads misinformation about numismatics. There are certain authors who have stated things in the past and they've been debunked, mostly because new information, new evidence has been discovered. So I don't think it's certainly not a big issue. It would be what I consider a minor issue in numismatics. Um, you know, if you're gonna read about coins, I would suggest getting the latest reference book available on a particular series. Like for instance, there have been just recently, John Danruther, a very good friend of mine, who is a tremendous researcher, has published books about proof coinage. I think his first one was on proof gold coins, and the second one was on nickel coins. And he has debunked a lot of information that was written about by previous authors, and a lot of that is based on the evidence from the coins themselves. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, here's an example. Back in the day, if you collect Walking Liberty half dollars, the 1938D back in my day was considered a great rarity or a rarity in the later date series from say 1934 to 1947. And a lot of that was just hooey because the 1938D has a low mintage relative to the other ones, but it's not a rare coin. It's never been rare. And people would say, oh, it's extremely rare in gem condition. But if you look at the pop reports now, I mean, there have been a ton of those coins graded. It's not a rarity, but it still commands a premium, probably because it's a legacy from the information that a lot of us dinosaurs have carried forward. But one of the resources that can help you judge relative rarities is the population reports that are produced by the grading companies, because they'll tell you what coins have been graded. And you can see, if a very, very few of them have been graded, it's a rare coin. But if hundreds and hundreds have been graded, it's not a rarity. So I would not be concerned about misinformation in the hobby. Now, I would be concerned about counterfeit coins. There are plenty of people who are happy to offer counterfeit coins as real, and some of them do it deliberately, some of them do it unknowingly. But to me, that is one of the greatest pitfalls in numismatics today. One way you can get around that is to stick with certified coins. Like I mentioned, Neil deals in or collects certified coins, and I collect certified coins. I recommend it because the grading companies, they stand by their coins. It's an authentication guarantee. If the coin turns out to be counterfeit, they will help you recover your money and chase down the bad guys. So in that regard, you really don't have to worry about counterfeit coins. But if you're buying raw coins, especially online on eBay or anywhere like that, you have to be careful. You have to be careful, and you might even, if you do buy something from someone, you might say, before I take delivery of it, I would like you to certify it for me, and offer to pay for the certification, and that way you'll be protected. So, someone says, someone asked me, what is the deal? You know, you can't find great coins in circulation anymore. You can't do like I did and find, you know, the silver quarters. I mean, silver dollars when I was starting out were $1.10. You could get them anywhere for $1.10. And nowadays, even though crummy ones are $30 and nice ones are $50 to $100. So things have changed. People say, what's the best way to get started in collecting today, especially if you're trying to get a young person collecting? My advice is to stick with what we call the modern coins, and this is the modern commemorative coins that were issued from 1982 to date. Proof sets from any year, those are great things to start with. And there are quite a few of those that actually see for less than their original issue price. That's one of the things you have to be concerned about. Like if you bought every offering that the U.S. Mint makes every year, you would first of all spend thousands of dollars, and second, it would you probably would not make money on everything you bought. You might make money on a few things, and it might even out, but in general, there are going to be coins that you will lose on. The nice thing about modern coins is they're all in perfect condition. They are relatively inexpensive compared to what we call classic coins. And you can put together a really nice collection of proof coins, modern commemorative coins for not very much money. And a lot of people do that. Now, the one area of modern collecting that I would advise new collectors to stay away from is the Proof 70. And the reason I say that is, first of all, the grading scale for coins is from 1 to 70, and it's been that way since 1948 when Dr. Sheldon established this 1 to 70 grading scale. A lot of people pay huge premiums for MS70 or Proof 70 coins, and they're not rare. I mean, more and more of them are being graded all the time. If you look at the population reports, the populations for the 70 coins just continues expanding. So that just tells me that if the supply begins to outstrip the demand, the price has to go down. So I would be very careful about buying. Now, there are collectors who want to put together complete set of proof, and God bless them. I encourage them in that pursuit as well. But if you're a beginning collector, a Proof 69 compared to a Proof 7, most people, most new collectors especially, cannot tell the difference. They are as close to perfection as you could possibly get. So stick with a Proof 69 and go there. And again, I recommend certified coins. And in a lot of cases, you could buy the Proof 69 for less than the issue price. So that's a great opportunity for collectors. Here's another from Chris. I agree with you on the counterfeit problem. Jack Young, Two things there. Jack Young is someone who specializes in counterfeit detection. He's done a tremendous job of identifying counterfeit coins, and some of them are extremely deceptive. They have fooled the grading services, they have fooled collectors, they have fooled expert dealers, but he's been able to identify the coins, and a lot of counterfeit coins they have what we call repeating marks. It'll be a flaw that shows up on this coin and it also shows up on this coin. And even if you alter the coin in some way, that flaw will probably still be there and that identifies as a counterfeit. The second thing that Chris points out is Coin Week. Coinweek.com is a wonderful publication. It's published by Charles Morgan, who is another good friend of mine. And they have articles almost every day, new articles from people all across the numismatic spectrum, from ancient coins to world coins to US coins to common coins, rare coins, modern coins, classic coins. Wonderful, wonderful articles. So when I talk about information that will help you grow as a collector, I recommend Coin Week. And thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. Now I got a couple other notes here. Let me look at my little phone and see what I wanted to talk about. Again, put some comments in there and ask some questions. Where are my notes here? Oh, people ask me, what is your favorite coin? That has changed over the years because when I started collecting, I mean, I did the same that everybody else does. I started Lincoln pennies, Mercury dimes, Roosevelt dimes, just the stuff that, again, I could get out of circulation. Well, when I was about 18, my coin collection was stolen. I mean, it was just taken, and it was a devastating blow because, I mean, I had spent, basically 8 years building this collection, and I had actually built quite a good collection because I would take the silver coins that I got from circulation, sell them to a local dealer at a premium, and what do I collect? What area should I put my energies into? And I said, this time I'm going to be very selective. I said, if I'm going to be putting money into a collection, then I want it to be something special. So I started looking through the Red Book. And for those of you who are new, is also known as the Guidebook of United States Coins. It's a complete listing of every United States coin ever made with mintages and prices for a variety of grades. The prices are a little bit retail, but it'll give you a good idea about relative rarity. So I went through the Red Book and I was looking for coins with low mintages, very few made, with a good price points, the stuff that was relatively affordable, not outrageously expensive. And I looked through everything. I started at the very beginning with half cents, went through large cents, every denomination, including the gold coins and there are many, many low mintage half cents that can be purchased for, today, back then they would be like $40 to $50. Today they would be $100 to $200. But you can still get them. If you look at the braided hair half cents, they were issued from 1840 to 1857, and all of those have low mintages. They're fairly easy to find, but they're not that expensive. So I thought, well, I'll put together a set of half cents. So I started focusing on those. And initially, I was going to go for a type set, which means I would buy one of each design type. But then I decided to go for one of each year. Well, that gets a little expensive because 1793, the first year, is expensive. 1796 is a rare date. That's very expensive. So I worked on that. And then I got interested in variety collection. I mentioned variety collection earlier. And there's a book by Roger Cohen that came out in 1981, which is about the time when I was really getting serious about these half cents. Actually, his first edition was in the early 70s. And I used that to uh, start collecting varieties. The nice thing about varieties, especially back then, was you could cherry pick them. What that means is you could go out and buy a coin at a common price that would turn out to be a rare variety. And in some cases, a rare variety can be worth 10 to 50 to even 100 times what a common variety is. So it was like a really new, neat, fun area to collect in, and I really enjoyed doing that. So that was my favorite coin at the time. Later on, I got turned on to Vermont coppers, and again, I started collecting those by variety. There's only 39 varieties of those, so it seems like it's a short set, but they're all relatively expensive. Then I got into German coins in 1988. I just bought a collection or bought a box of German coins from a fellow who I'd sold my coin shop to in Evansville, Indiana. And I got hooked on German coins because it's a huge area, it's wide open. So I got into those, and nowadays that's where I focus most of my energies. But I'm getting back into U.S. coins more and more. Nation emerge over time and seeing the approach to SP change. Do you see this as something that will continue to? Neil, that's a really good question, especially in German coins, because there are a lot of coins that were struck by the Germans over the years that would they look like the proof definition that we apply to U.S. coins. They look like proofs, but there are no records of them having been struck. And you kind of have to look at them because with German coins you have mint state, which are frosty and they look uncirculated, and then you have these proof likes, and you have what they call Erst Abschlag, which means first strike, and these are like really nice. I mean, they look like proofs, and they could be proofs, but it's a fine line. And then you have the proofs that are just known to be proofs, and they're just obvious proofs. They're just fully struck. So I have seen, Neil, to answer your question, I've seen many instances where coins have gone from, and um, it's an ever changing issue. I think that an SP one time or a our mint state. There's another issue like if you look Canadian silver dollars. I'm getting a message here that my connection is unstable. I hope that's not messing up the thing here. Let me go open the door here. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. If you look at Canadian silver dollars, uh, especially from 1935 to the 1960s or something, you have several classes. You have mint state, you have PL, you have specimen, and you have proof. And frankly, called curious how your the Eliasberg project relates to a collection put together by Louis Eliasberg Sr. He is the only person who ever put together a complete set of U.S. coins based on the coins that existed in 1950. Um, there's a little bit of an asterisk to that because I know of two coins that he did not have. One was an 1866 Nomato 20 that the auction house ended up buying for the collection so that they could claim that it was a complete collection. And that's fair. The other one, which is also kind of fair, was I think it's an 1865 3-cent nickel. What Eliasberg had was a pattern which looked almost identical to the proof 1865 3-cent pieces. So, we can give him credit for that. I'm not going to put an asterisk on them like we do for some of the steroid users in the baseball field. But anyway, Elasberg put together this complete collection of U.S. coins. His collections were sold in 1982 was when his gold coins were sold. 1996 was when his uh, what was it? Well, 1996 and 1997 were when the rest of his collection was sold, and then much more recently, he sold his collection of gold coins, which was phenomenal by itself. Not nowhere near complete, but it was a phenomenal thing. So Louis Elisberg just did this impossible feat. Today we have a fellow named Deloy Hansen who is trying to also complete a collection of U.S. coins, but he's got a little bit of a ways to go, and some of the coins that he needs are extreme rarities. One of them coming up is the 1870s $3 gold piece, which set a record price of $687,500 back in 1982. And it'll be really interesting to see what that brings today. It could bring upwards of $10 million or more. And Mr. Hansen will have to he'll have to have that coin if he wants to achieve completion. So it'll be interesting. Anyway, what I've been doing is I've been tracking the provenances or the prior appearances of the Eliasberg coins. Now, what happens is a lot of times when coins are sold in an auction, they reappear on the market and the provenance is stripped away. And sometimes that's done because the coin is upgraded and it's sold for more money, and people may or may not want to hide that fact. So they strip the provenance away, and from then on, no one knows that it's an Eliasberg coin unless they're like me and they track the photographs and they actually match the coins to the previous Eliasberg pedigree. And to me, that makes them more valuable to the owner, the current owner, even if the grade has changed, even if it's gone up. So um, that's one of the projects I'm working on right now. And thank you, Chris, for your kind comment. A lot of times when we do work in numismatics, it's a very niche market, very limited audience. So it's always nice to get feedback from people who um, have read your writing and appreciate it. So that's really um, I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. So thank you very much. Chris asked another question: do you that weren't in the catalogs by Bowers? Most of the Eliasberg coins were photographed, um, and that's why it's possible to do the sort of plate matching or photo matching that I do. I don't have access to any photographs that weren't in a, let's say they were producing an auction catalog. Well, generally they would go in and photograph maybe not all the coins, but certainly the highlights. And most of those would end up in the catalog. So I don't have access to any material that's left over from the production of the catalogs. So I pretty much have to rely on what's available either in the catalog or on the Newman numismatic portal. Um, the one thing that does help, that can help match a pedigree, is if say a coin appears today in a heritage auction and it is accompanied by the lot ticket from the 1982 sale. If the coin wasn't photographed in 1982, it might be photographed. So that's a chance for me to get a picture of a coin that otherwise I would never know existed. And this happens also fairly frequently. Um, there are a lot of auctions a long time ago, and when I say a long time ago, I'm talking about like pre-1980s, where coins that are considered valuable and rare today may not have been photographed back then. But if they have the lot ticket accompanying them, we can identify them as that coin, and today we'll get the picture. So that's very, very helpful in provenance research. Here's another question from Chris. I seem to recall photos of some of the Bauer sales getting sold by David Fanning in his These were not ones used in catalogs, is why I asked. They do pop up sometimes. That would be great. That would be great. And even Chris, if even if the original photographs are here, they're a lot better than the halftones that are in the auction catalogs. There's nothing worse than having to try to identify a coin based on a halftone, because a halftone is nothing but a bunch of dots. So if you can find the original photographs, that's really wonderful. Let's see, I got a question here from JF. Thank you for joining us. Uh, I know they're also crossed. There are a number of Newman coins that were crossed from, most of the Newman coins were graded by NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, and they were sold by Heritage in their auctions, over a number of auctions. Eric Newman's collection was phenomenal. And Eric Newman is the one who funded the Newman Numismatic Portal. So he's a very famous numismatist, and he had a phenomenal collection. At one time, he owned all five of the 1913 Liberty nickels. There are a number of coins that sold in the Newman collection that were crossed over to PCGS, and it's actually some of the rare instances where people accepted a lower grade just to get it in the PCGS holder. You can see that on some of the rare bust dollars that were purchased by Bruce Moreland. Bruce Moreland put together a complete collection of bust dollars in the finest possible grades, and he wanted to do it in the PCGS set registry. And in order to do that, he purchased coins out of Newman's collection, and then crossed them and had them put into a PCGS holders. So, yeah, there are a lot of coins that have crossed. Some have gone down, some have gone up. So some people prefer NGC holders, some prefer PCGS, and so it just depends on where you want your coins housed. And so there are many of the Newman coins that have crossed. Chris H says, I know the pain of the halftone versus actual photo negatives. Yeah, if you've ever tried to match photographs, especially in some of the auction catalogs from the 1950s, I mean, the pictures are just miserable. If you look at some of the catalogs from 1910, where they used actual photographs, I mean, those are easy to match. I mean, they're a joy to match. But some of the stuff in the 1950s, and a lot of times they would actually reuse photographs, and so you're totally confused. I said, what's going on here? How could this possibly be the same coin, but it's the same picture? So you got to do that. Got another new person here, Dayam. Thank you for joining us. What's your opinion on market grading, and does it add or detract from the hobby? Well, market grading is generally perceived to be like this. You have a coin, and it has what we call a strike grade, or details grade. Okay, it looks like an extremely fine coin, but it has a defect. It might be a small scratch, it might be a carbon spot, it might be some other defect that it might not get a straight grade. In other words, let's say an EF is call it a, do you account for the defect and just lower the grade to say 30? Or do you say it's an EF details with this flaw, and then you let the buyers decide what they want to pay for it? Market grading basically says 70s, 1975. So is here to stay, high res on Heritage site. I believe sales now for viewing. By the way, is one of the biggest auction houses in numismatics, circling the news of the month. JF says, thanks for the insightful answer. You're very welcome. Chris H says, all coins are hosted on the these wonderful, wonderful, good. Susan Castling says, developed a very large following from collectors who trusted them to exceptional for the grade. Cat coins can bring a big pre-open. They've come out with a new holder service, and NGC. I mean, like I said, they've graded scores of millions of coins already, so it'll be interesting to see trouble. So, coin grading scale. So, strikes, and I believe, and I'm relying on my good friend John Danruther, who I mentioned earlier. There is a belief that some of the 1839 go break dollars were actually struck for and released into circulation. It's a very small number, they're very rare. But I'm going to defer to John Danruther. And when he comes out with his book on silver coins, which hopefully will be out this year or next, he can answer that question much better than I can. So that's a very good question. I like to teach. I like to teach. Topic. It used to be we would argue valuable coin if it ever came up on the market. That coin, people have said, oh, you know, it would probably be 25 million, that sort of thing. The first coin to break 10 million was a 1794 dollar, a specimen dollar, going back to proof specimen, that was purchased by Bruce Moreland for his collection. I mentioned that earlier. And if you watch the bidding for that particular coin, it was not manipulated, but structured so that it would become the first to ever sell for $10 million. So kudos for them. That coin, there's that has a good shot of being a most valuable coin. There's another pattern coin for Judd number. 1776 is a great date. You know, it's a year of independence, and this coin is definitely a trophy coin. But a lot of these arguments about, $10 million coins, 15 million, 20 was blown out of the water when um, a Bitcoin came up for sale a year or two ago, and I believe it was 1,000 Bitcoin sold at auction for around that price, $63 million, because it's so vastly higher than any other. That is and has been the most valuable U.S. coin ever to sell. Now, people say, man, so you can have these arguments, but if it's if you talk about the most valuable numismatic item to ever sell, you can't beat that price. Now, the thing about that Bitcoin is there's a certain amount of trust involved. The way the coin is made, that area is a little strip of paper that has the public and private keys for Bitcoin, and those are essential for unlocking the 1,000 Bitcoins that coin represents. And then that not lasered, hologrammed, that seal has never been broken or replaced or anything like that. And I presume it hasn't, but it's kind of like buying an unopened 1964 proof set. You're not really sure that there's a 1964 proof set in there. It could be slugs or whatever. So that's the issue on that particular coin. But 63 million. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.